Hey podcast, just before we get you to this episode, I wanted to invite you to join us at pageantlaunch.com. We are starting the world's first dedicated pageant review site, and we want you to join our launch team. All you need to do is put in your email address. It's completely free. We are looking to make the pageant industry safe, transparent, and fair, and we'd love your input on how to do that. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, whack in your email address, and let's get you to this episode. Hey everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and oh my God, Natalie, I forgot to ask you a very important question. How do I pronounce your surname?
Oh, it's a Dragt, like draw with a T at the end.
Draught. Is it Draught?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Being super professional. Natalie put the wrong link in her bio. I forgot to ask Natalie how to pronounce her surname. We're off to a good start here. So guys, if you haven't watched one of my interviews before, feel free to ask any questions. Obviously, we're live. This is not pre-recorded. And if you have any questions or messages of support, such as Carly here has put, yay, Nat. Hannah has written, so sorry, went to the wrong place. That's actually Natalie's fault, not yours. We were wondering why there was someone else joining us on the interview. I'm like, who's that? It's like, oh, okay. And Cara McKenzie here has sent you a few love heart emojis. So if you have any questions for Natalie, feel free to put them in the comments and we can pass them on. I assume this is Mum.
It is.
There you go. Hello, Mum.
Number one fan.
All right. Natalie, let me start with a really important question. How's your foot?
Raise my foot. Oh, I actually got my boot off today.
Okay, well done.
I'm so happy. It's just very ugly right now because it's all bruised still, but I'm out of the boot, I'm off of crutches, and we're doing good.
Okay, how did you actually end up, and I saw the story on your Facebook, and I think it's your mum posted, and from what I understand, this is definitely not the first time you've had an accident. That's what I'm reading into the subtext anyway. So tell us what happened. How did you do this, and do you do this often? Is it like a once a year, once a month sort of thing?
So I was at a high school lock-in. I'm going to be a senior in high school, and we were at our lock-in, and it was at a trampoline park. And we have a trampoline at my house, and I was going to be athletic, and I was trying to show my friends how to do a front flip. So I went to do my front flip, and I landed wrong, and my ankle just popped out. And one of my friends looked at me, and she goes, "Natalie, was that your foot that just made that noise?" And yes, it was. So it was terrible. I could just feel it because that was the fourth time I've done that. And so we kind of sat there on the side, and we weren't supposed to be leaving at all. So I ended up hobbling out, got a police escort to my car, and ended up driving all the way home with my left foot, which is not normal here in America. But it was very difficult.
Normal anyway.
And then I usually, well, I didn't know. Maybe the cars, you know how they're opposite? Maybe they drive opposite with their foot. But yeah, I've never actually broken it. I have had 4 high ankle sprains on the same foot, and the first 2 times it was playing basketball, and being my height, 5'10", that's pretty tall here, so they always put me against the really tall, muscular girls, and I did not do well. I was not an aggressive player, so I always got hurt, and that led to 2 high ankle sprains. And then last spring, I was playing volleyball, and a girl came underneath the net, and my foot landed on top of her foot, and it just rolled out again. Yep. And so I thought with maybe quitting the sports, it would have helped, but then I was doing front flip lessons and did it again.
I feel like I should ask your mum this. Mum, is Natalie accident prone? Has she been doing this ever since she was a child, or is it just, bad luck? I guess. Okay, so we've got a lot of.
Bit of
So
both.
Emily, both. Emily has said looking stunning. Zanny is over and from Malaysia. He's saying hello. Linda has said love my grandbaby, and Alana has said shout out to you, Sissy. So guys, if you have any questions, normally what happens in these interviews is everyone says, "Oh, love you, love you, love you," but no one actually asks any questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in below. They don't need to be pageant related. I do have a question, and Rachel Everin, you're not here. You owe me $2. I've told Natalie this story. But I asked Rachel to ask you, say, are there any weird questions? And Rachel said, how to make sweet tea. Does that make any
What
sense
was
to you?
that?
She said, how to make
Wait,
sweet
ask
tea.
it one more time.
Rachel has said, how to
Oh
make
my goodness.
sweet
Do you not
tea.
know what sweet tea is?
I know, well, but why is it fun? She said,
So,
I said, any weird questions I can ask you. And she said, how to make sweet tea.
yes. So I am from Texas, and sweet tea is a big Southern thing, and I can't stand sweet tea because I was originally from Washington State, up by Canada, and most of my family drinks regular tea, whether it's brewed hot or it's just cold iced tea without sugar in it. And so everyone here drinks sweet tea. And Rachel comes down, and I meet her last year at IJM, and I had asked her, so what's one of the best parts of being in America? And she answered with the sweet tea and then Denny's. And I said, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting, but okay. And then she said, oh, you're from Texas. Or she said something to the fact like this. And she said, oh, you're from Texas. Don't you like sweet tea? It's like, no, not at all. But I have since learned how to make it just for her. If she comes down here, then I can make her sweet tea. So it's a lot of sugar. Just douse it until it doesn't taste like tea anymore, and you have yourself some sweet tea.
So what's the point of having it if it's not tea?
I've asked myself that before because it really just tastes like you're having spoonfuls of sugar, but the Texans seem to love it. And so do all the other Southerners here in America.
Okay, no judgment. Whatever you want to eat or drink, it's up to you. It's your body. But I don't understand it when you sort of. It sounds like you want to drink something, but you don't like tea. So you take tea, put so much sugar into it, it doesn't taste like tea, and you're just drinking sugar water. That's what it sounds like. Okay. And Rachel obviously being the
That's
IJM teen,
exactly
but she's
it.
not on because it's 6 a.m. for her and she hasn't woken up, so she owes me $2. We'll go quickly through the comments again, and then Natalie, I'll get you to talk more about your pageant history. So where were we? So Kathy has said, hello, Natalie. Your mum has said Natalie is a hot mess, lol. Um, Oh, Carly's got a question here. Why don't we start with this question? Hey, Nat, how are you preparing for internationals with all our extra time now?
Well, with Corona still going on, and especially with Texas, they're starting to have another shutdown. And instead of progressing forward with the opening, we are now reverting back to now only allowing restaurants to be at 50% instead of the 75 that they were at. So we're slowly backtracking, which is kind of sad, but for the greater good. But with that being said, I am trying to get my platform to be able to be active in a pandemic like this, because usually I go to schools and I talk about my platform, and it's called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, and I speak on that. Well, with schools being shut down and those big groups not being allowed to gather at this time, I need to do some adjustments. So I've really been figuring out how to do that and what my next move is with my platform to be able to stay on top of the current events.
And can you tell us more about your platform? You mentioned it very briefly there, and I did see it. Can you tell us more about how you came to choose that as your platform?
Yeah, so when I was in junior high, I was 11 years old and 5'10". I also had red hair and green eyes. I stuck out so much being a 5'10", 11-year-old. So I always got made fun of, and the nicknames that came from that were terrible. And I just felt
Mm.
awful about myself. And I wanted to change everything. I wanted to dye my hair. I wanted to blend in, and I didn't want to embrace who I am. And so I really started to figure out that a lot of teenagers in that age group, they feel the same way. They're not comfortable in their skin. They want to change who they are to be someone else, especially with magazines, Netflix shows, Instagram, any social
Yep.
media. They see these people that they want to be instead of wanting to be themselves. So, with that being said, I started going into these junior high aged schools and speaking to them about it's a Bible verse called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made. So it basically is just saying, I love who I am. I'm made to be who I am, and I'm going to embrace that. And I want to show everyone else who I can be. And maybe it can start a chain reaction. And it really did. And I got to meet some of the sweetest girls that I've now become friends with. And it's been incredible. So I've been able to speak to about 2,000 people on this platform,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
hoping to make it a bit bigger this year and be able to reach more age groups instead of just that junior high level.
5'10". I mean, in that's similar to myself. I was this height. I'm 6'1" now. I was probably about the same height when I was your age as well. So I certainly know what that's like. In my school photos, there are people who are
Yes.
literally half my height. But as a guy, it's seen very differently to be tall than a girl. But I mean, for yourself on the flip side now, obviously being tall is a huge advantage, right?
It is, especially competing in pageants, really where I learned that being my unique self is what's going to make me stand out and potentially help me win a pageant. And that's what a lot of judges look for. They look at uniqueness, whether that's in your personality, your looks. You want to
Mm.
stand out as much as you possibly can during a competition. And so, being the 5'10" redhead, that's what I get called at the competition. I get called the redhead, or I get called the tall girl. And everyone has seen me at a competition, or they just remember who I am just because I stick out. I don't stand in. So, that definitely was a disadvantage for me when I was in junior high, or what I thought was a disadvantage has definitely become one of my strengths now.
Have you met any pageant girls whilst competing who are taller than you? I mean, I know a couple, but have you met any?
There's been a few. They were probably around 5'11" or 6 foot flat. None were too much taller. And then, especially in our heels, some of the heels were different heights. So I've never really noticed a girl that was significantly taller than I was. Rachel and I, we always laughed because we were about the same height. And then one of my really good friends that I compete with, she's about an inch shorter than me, but we're again about the same height. And so 5'10" seems to be one of the on the taller side of pageantry,
Yeah.
but I definitely see the girls. My miss last year, I think, was a flat 5 foot. And when I put my heels on, it was like she went up to my hip. And everyone was like, "Oh, are you her miss?" I'm like, "No, I'm her teen." So it was pretty fun to have her as a sister last year and always get those questions.
I thought you were about to say people were asking you, is that your daughter or is that your little sister? That would be slightly embarrassing. Now, Cassie or Casey is talking about sweet tea. And so we'll go through this question and then I'll ask you about your pageant history. So Hannah has asked about the challenges that you face during this time. Obviously, this is an unprecedented time. There's a lot that we can't do, appearances, etc. So, what about the challenges that you faced during Corona?
Well, with Corona, a lot of people are on their phones, and I have definitely fallen victim to that. So at the very beginning, I was not accomplishing anything. I sat there on my phone, I watched a lot of TikTok, and I guess the TikTok thing kind of paid off. But I was on TikTok, I was on Instagram, social media way too much, and my screen time really made me feel bad about myself every single time I checked it. So, with that being said, I tried to fix that by starting to volunteer more. So, I'm actually volunteering more than what I ever had. I'm averaging about 10 hours a week. So,
Oh,
had a lot of good come from it, but that was definitely something that I focused with, and trying to stay on task of something was very difficult for me. So I've definitely busied my schedule up more with volunteer work, and now I'm taking college classes and studying for different tests, and it's been very busy and very crazy. So I'm trying to stay on task and trying to get things done during these crazy times. It's kind of difficult, but that's been a really big challenge for me.
Perfect. Okay, let's get to what I normally start the interviews with, which is how you got into pageantry to begin with and how that journey has led you to where you are now. Obviously, you've got your lovely IJM sash on and you're the current Texas Teen. So why don't you tell us a bit about your pageant history and what made you join in the first place?
Yeah, so I ended up joining pageantry on a whim. My mom picked me up from school one day and told me, "Hey, guess what I did today?" And I asked her, "What?" This could go so many different ways. "What did you do today?" And she said, "I entered you into a pageant." I said, "Oh, huh, okay. Well, that'll be new. That'll be a new challenge." And I was excited for it. Ever since I was younger, I've loved getting dressed up, and I have really enjoyed public speaking. So she thought, throw her into a pageant. That kind of covers it all, public speaking and getting dressed up. I
Yep.
went to my first pageant, which was Texas Teen USA, which is one of the biggest pageants here in Texas. It had 120 girls or something to that effect. My
Wow.
very first time, and I was one of the youngest. I was 14, and she threw me in there. I had a roommate. I did not know what to do. I barely knew how to put mascara on. It was rough, but I had an amazing time. I have never been around, at that point in my life, I had never been around such accomplished and such beautiful women that were my age. I always thought you
Mm.
maybe had to be older to accomplish the things that they had, and they really proved to me, hey, we're teenagers, we can get this done as well. And so that really inspired me to keep doing the pageants, because I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be able to inspire younger girls like they were and inspire generations ahead of me. I thought it was amazing. So then I got asked to compete in a local USA pageant, and it was my second pageant, and I ended up winning. And I was the youngest one there. I was so excited. And then I went back to Texas Teen USA, and I was so upset because I didn't make the top 15. And at that point, I wanted to really give up on pageants because I put so much hard work into it and didn't see the results from it.
Mm.
So I thought I was done. And one of my dear friends, Haley Hurst, decided to tell me that, hey, she pushed me to do IJM because she had been a reigning junior Texas teen or
Hmm.
preteen. I can't remember what her title was, but
Hmm.
she was one of the Texas teens. She really pushed me towards the IJM system. I said, okay, sounds good. Last year, I won the Lone Star title, which is basically the first runner up to the Texas title, and had an amazing reign, had the most fun and just carefree time at internationals. It was the most fun I'd ever had at a pageant before. It was amazing. It really restored my love in pageantry, and I thrived in it, and I met so many amazing people at IJM as well. And I decided I'm going to go back. So I competed again. This time it was virtually, and won the
Hmm.
Texas title. Now I can't wait to go back to internationals again.
In your mind, I mean, every pageant obviously has its place, and different people suit different pageants. In your mind, what made IJM so enjoyable for you?
IJM always talks about the sisterhood that they have. And if you haven't competed in IJM, then you just kind of nod along and think, oh, yeah, that's another way that maybe they advertise, or just something that they
Mm.
say. And they embrace the sisterhood. A lot of pageants say that this is where you're going to meet your best friends. And yeah, it might be true, but IJM is truly where I met some of the most amazing people. And like now I have friends all over the country and all over the world. Rachel has now become one of my really good friends, and I can't wait to see her again. So they've really been able to get that sisterhood to be really tight knit. And now we welcome new members all the time. We get to meet so many people, and everyone is so truly kind. I was really nervous to go into the IJM system since I started with USA. Everyone welcomed me with open arms. Everyone was so kind, and
Yep.
it's been like a family, and I love it.
So I know you're very young, but you're also very well spoken. Is there anything in particular that during your reign, or when you look back on your pageantry, whenever it is you're done, maybe you'll never be done, but is there anything in particular that you would like to be remembered for or stand out for in terms of personal qualities or advocacies or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually really would love to be remembered as the girl that was a role model for everyone, not just a certain age group or just a certain body type or certain anything. I don't want it
Hmm.
to be just directed at someone. I want to be remembered as the girl that influenced everyone, and that would be amazing. And that's what I'm working on right now. Like I told you earlier, with my platform to be able to reach younger girls, I'm working on a book. So that way I can read that to them and get the idea across that I'm getting to also the junior high girls and speaking to girls. And that's another thing. I want to be able to speak to everyone, not just teenage girls. But I'm a little nervous to speak to people my own age about these things that are going on because these are things that still I go through to this day. And
Right.
I really want to be able to branch out to people that are older than I am and also my age. And so I'm working on the younger ones right now, but I also want to be remembered as that girl that touched everyone's life.
Perfect. There's a few comments here. So Hannah has said, this is back when we were talking about height. She said that she relates to your miss. So Hannah obviously is not 5'10", I would assume. Carly has said also, I had no idea
Hannah's
you
a little
played
shorter.
a little, a little shorter. Also, I had no idea you played piano until you won talent at the Texas pageant. Is that an optional you plan on doing at internationals?
Yeah, it is. I picked up piano when I was in sixth grade. It's kind of an interesting story. One of our dear family friends, she moved into a smaller house and didn't have room for her baby grand piano. And she told
Oh.
us to keep it. And if we could keep it, then I had to learn how to play. And so I told her, okay, I would learn how to play. So I learned how to play piano for her, but I was not very good at reading the notes. I was a lot better at hearing music and then being able to play it.
Mhm.
I'm also a symphony ambassador. So every time I went to work at symphonies, I would hear the music and I would want to go home and play it. And that's how I've learned to play piano is through listening to it. So my teacher was not too thrilled when she found out the reason that I had her play for me wasn't to understand the music better. It was that way I could hear the music and cheat my way through lessons. I ended up quitting lessons and just teaching myself how to play a little bit better. And now for Christmas, I give my parents a Christmas song. So I have them request a song in about November, and then I learn how to play it. And that's their Christmas gift from me is a piano song. And it actually works out really well because I know a ton of Christmas songs on the piano because of that reason that internationals is going to be in December. So I'm thrilled that I
Ah,
get to play my Christmas piece at internationals. It was going to be a little bit weird if I played it in July. I was hoping no one would notice.
Christmas in July. What are some of the songs? Or what are some of your favorite songs to perform, Christmas themed or otherwise?
Shoot. There's a few Nutcracker songs, and then Carol the Bells is my favorite, and that's what I performed at state. And I'm going to try and vamp it up a little bit if that makes sense. Try and make it a little
Yep.
bit better and make it sound better for internationals because I love that piece. And then there's also a few others. They're super random, but I've heard them on different Christmas movies, but I cannot remember what the names are. It's like Kings of something and yeah, but and a few like religious songs and I just love listening to the piano. So whatever comes across that I enjoy the tune of, I will play that at internationals. I'm thinking Carol the Bells, but we'll see.
Perfect. Casey has said, "Hey, it's Ava," and Nikki DiPietro has said my queen. Um, I am just getting the sense that you do a lot. So can you just walk us through what you do in your spare time, if any, and if this might actually be a good time to talk about TikTok because that must take up some amount of your time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so in the morning, I wake up around 6 a.m. and well, this morning I woke up at around 5:50 for me to be waking up around 10 instead of 6 a.m. But I go wake up and go to the gym with one of my best friends. We push each other to do as good as we can at the gym, even if I don't want to. But we typically run a few miles a day and then work on just making ourselves better. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And I get home and I typically make myself a juice, which consists of celery, carrot, and apple, and whatever else comes from our garden, I'll throw that in as well. So maybe a
Wow.
cucumber, just why
Mhm.
not? Throw it all in, see what happens. And that's my breakfast. And then throughout the day, I typically try to make one or two TikToks just to see what will happen because typically they end up turning out really bad. So out of 3 days, I get 6 TikToks, and maybe one of them I think is worthy enough to post.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I'll do that. Yesterday, I was making Instagram content because I had nothing to post, and I haven't posted in about 2 weeks. And I just got this ring light and I was so excited. So I decided I was going to try and take pictures and make something good enough for my Instagram. It took me about 2 hours to make. It was ridiculous. So it was just I learned that I had to take a video of myself on my phone and then screenshot it to get a good
Mhm.
picture. But that's what I did most of yesterday. Sometimes during the week, you can find me volunteering at Meals for the Elderly or at my church or for the Symphony Ambassador group that I'm a part of. So I do a lot of that as well. And I live on a farm, so I have to take care of chickens, ducks. Sometimes neighbors' goats get into our field. There's a lot.
There was a pageant girl over here in the UK, and she got into her local paper. There's a photo of her in her pageant gown, so looking very elegant. And I think it was ducks. She was feeding ducks, and that got in the newspaper, and she was upset because the ducks got more publicity than she did. But that's a very different side. You go from pageant glam to feeding animals. That'll keep you grounded, which is a good thing. Shall we have a look at your TikTok? So
Yes.
Natalie has blown up massively on TikTok. She's just cracked the 6 figures in terms of having 100,000 followers. And she was telling me about this one, which is, and we can actually play this. This is, how many views has it had? 4.7 million?
How many views have I had?
Yeah, on this one. This is the one that is over 4.7
I think
million
around
views.
4.8 million views.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
something to that effect. I haven't looked at it recently.
you can see that it's got almost 600,000 likes and almost 1,000 comments. So why don't we play this and people can have a look, although I'm sure everyone watching has already seen it, but we'll play it for them anyway.
Got to beat my powers and we just made a bang.
I like him too. He my man, he my boo, he my type, he's so cute. I want him and I want him too. I like him too. He my man, he my boo, he my type, he's so cute. I want him and I want him too. Hop in the whip, hop in the truck, I do.
Can you the funny thing when I saw that was I was actually thinking that you might twist your ankle because when you're jumping from shoe to shoe, I'm just worried that you're jumping into shoes, you're going to twist your ankle. How long did that take you to make, and how did you make it? For someone who's not made a TikTok anywhere near that advanced, how did you make that?
You start by lining shoes out in a perfect line, and then you have to adjust your camera accordingly so that way you can see all of the shoes. You start in your first outfit, and then you jump into the shoes. But you have to be super careful not to move the shoes at all. Otherwise, it'll mess up the entire video. Then you move out of the way of the shoes. And the trick is you have to jump a little bit in front of the shoes. Otherwise, you'll end up like me with a boot on your foot. You move out of the way and then you go change and you put on a different outfit. So for me, I was trying to show off Sherry Hill dresses and advertise a little bit for them. And I put on a different Sherry Hill dress every single time I jumped into the shoes. I put a Sherry Hill dress on, and then I would go back to where I had my line of shoes, and I'd go to the shoes that I just jumped into. And I would put them on, super careful again to not move them from the spot that they were just in. And I'd have my mom push the record button, and I would start my recording and act like I just jumped in. And so you'd have to do a little bit of movement just to make sure that it flows from one thing to the next. And then you take a step forward, and then you jump into the next shoes and repeat the entire process.
So what is it about TikTok? Obviously, you've fallen in love with TikTok, and probably out of love, if that's the right way to put it, a little bit with Instagram. What attracted you to TikTok in the first place?
That's actually a funny story. I didn't get TikTok because I was not interested in it. I didn't want to be on a video app that I knew I would get addicted to. So I didn't download it. But then I got a call to go work for Sherry Hill in Austin. And the job for the day was to make TikToks. That's what we did. We made TikToks. And I didn't know. I hadn't made any of the dances before. All these girls, they knew all the dances. And I'm sitting over here. How do they know all these? I didn't know what to do. So they made all their dances, and I did the super easy ones where you just had to lip sync and maybe jumped into something like a dress or out of a shirt or something to that effect. And it was just jumping from outfits to outfits, kind of like the shoe thing. And they were still doing their dances. I was very impressed, and I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to be in Sherry Hill's TikToks, I want to have my own TikTok account so that way I can watch how they're doing on the app. I downloaded TikTok, and it was right before Texas Teen USA this last November. And I made a TikTok. It was of me at the gym, and it was me answering pageant questions. It was probably like my second or third TikTok. And it was to that super easy, it's just, yep, nope. And it was super popular back in November, December, and required no dancing, no effort. I was just saying yes and no. And it blew up. I got 1 million views on it. And that's how I started. I got 6,000 followers from that. And then after Christmas, I posted another video about redheads and blew up again. I ended up getting 10,000 followers. And then Rachel and I did a TikTok together, and it was American versus Australian. And that blew up. So then I ended up getting to around 20,000 followers. And I kind of got stuck around 30. And through spring break, I got one to blow up a little bit. And after that, my mom and I made the shoe video, and I went from 40 to 100,000 really quickly.
Okay, I don't know where to start with that because it just boggles my mind. Because in many ways, TikTok is still uncharted territory because it's so new. But can you just tell me how much work goes into it? Because I think a lot of people, especially people who don't want to go into TikTok, so they're looking for excuses. Like I told you, Rachel originally didn't want to get into TikTok. I think a lot of people looking at it go, oh, it's just silly videos. It's very easy to make. But you just said something before. Like you said you make 6 and only post one. So how much work actually goes into your TikTok account? Because it sounds like a lot.
A lot of work actually does go into it. After this, I have to go make a TikTok for a sunglass company. And once you start getting different brands to send you things and to agree upon sponsorships, it really does become like a job. You have to keep up your end of a deal and post different things for those products. And after that, it is like a job. You have to make sure that you're doing everything in compliant with those sponsorship rules. It's a ton of fun though. I love it. I really fallen in love with being able to edit the videos and get it the way that I want to. It's kind of my form of art because I'm actually really bad at drawing and terrible at painting. So this is my form of art, as I say it to sound more creative. And yeah, it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit like a job, but I really enjoy it. It started out just as something kind of fun for me to do and just a way for me to show my pageant videos off and just try different things on there. And now it's really blown up and a lot of work goes into it. I would say probably a good, I don't know, maybe 10 hours or 12 hours a week goes into my TikToks to make sure that the lighting is good or to make sure that the meaning behind everything is good, because especially on TikTok right now, there are a lot of younger girls that follow me because of my platform. They follow me on all my social medias, and I love those sweet girls. So I don't want them seeing anything inappropriate on my page or hearing anything inappropriate. It's really hard to try and find sounds that are good for all age groups. And once you think you find a sound that doesn't have any bad words or anything that it says that's bad, then you listen to the meaning of the song and it's just as worse. So I do a lot of time trying to figure out what songs I should post and what songs are not appropriate for those younger viewers to see. That takes a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it. I've loved it. It's really helped me gain a social following on my other social medias like Snapchat and Instagram, which is really what a lot of modeling agencies are looking for right now. So that's been really helpful, being able to boost all of those.
Just on the modeling agency, did I see correctly that you just got signed up to one, or was that a figment of my imagination?
I did. I ended up signing with an IJM sponsor called New York MMG. And I signed with them right before the virus hit, which was so lucky. I got to go to New York and do a photo shoot in Brooklyn. Wow. And went to the office, and it's a few blocks away from Times Square. So I had an amazing time there. Got to ice skate, met a ton of really cool people, got to meet my manager in person. So I did end up signing with them, which was a dream come true. I've always wanted to be able to be a signed model, and I'm hoping that I can kick my career off a little bit more as a model this coming year.
Is that, and again, is this a figment of my imagination, but you just said ice skating rink. Is that where you had that very weird story that someone recognized, like a guy recognized you? It's that one, isn't it? I was listening, I don't know where you posted it. I was just watching that going, that's kind of creepy. Do you want to tell the story briefly? Because I don't want to butcher it.
Yes, of course. So my mom and I were over at the Central Park ice skating rink, and there was this guy, and he was pretty cute. He was probably like 6'4", just a good looking guy. And I kept looking over at him, and every time I looked over, he was staring at me. So I'm like, okay, well, he sees me too. So I'm not going to be the one to go up and ask for his number. He's got to come talk to me. And I was too scared. And so my mom and I decided that we were just going to ice skate about our business. I'm terrible at ice skating, and I was slipping all over the place. I didn't fall, so that was a plus. But there is a video or two of me just flailing everywhere on the ice. But yeah, so I kept looking over at the guy, and every time like I'd catch myself from falling, he was staring at me. It's like, great, he just saw that. That's fantastic. Well, he never asked for my number, and we had to leave to go to lunch for our reservation. I was like, well, I'm not going to ask him. That's okay. Maybe next location we're at, there'll be another one. It's fine. And I was up in my hotel room, and I got this weird DM on Instagram, and it said, hey, were you the girl at Central Park that was ice skating with her mom today? And I said, yes, I was. This is a little weird. And I recognized the guy's Instagram. It was him. It was crazy. I posted a picture on my Instagram of me skating at Central Park, and I tagged it in the location as me being in Central Park. He scrolled through all of the Central Park location tags and found my Instagram, DM'd me, and asked if I'd like to go down to Times Square and hang out with him. And I'm like, that is so dangerous on so many different levels. And I had just gotten out of the shower, and I was like, I'm not about to go down to Times Square with wet hair. And I wasn't going to do it. And he was like, oh, well, what are you doing tomorrow? And the day after that, I was supposed to be going to my modeling agency and talking with my manager and then having my photo shoot in Brooklyn. But I told him, like, well, this is my hotel. I'm eating breakfast at 8 if you would like to meet me there. Well, sure enough, he met me at my hotel and we had breakfast together. And the reason that he didn't come up and talk to me was because he was French and didn't speak much English. So the entire time at breakfast, we had to use a translator on Google to be able to communicate. But how cool of a story is that? And now I have a friend from France. It worked out really well.
I was just thinking, like, isn't it easier just to go up and say hello to someone than going through everything that's tagged and so with Central Park, hoping that the person has taken a photo and tagged the location, and that's like, okay, he doesn't speak English. I don't even know where to begin with it. That's one of the weirdest stories I've ever heard, and it verges between being really funny and also really creepy at the same time.
He was really cute though. So it's I wanted to be able to say and I wanted to be able to tell that story. So I was like, yeah, of course, just come meet me for breakfast. Not expecting him to actually come meet me for breakfast. And he did. And it was so awkward at the beginning. He went to give me like a side kiss, like what the French do. And
Friendship.
I didn't know what he was doing. So I stuck my hand out for a handshake, not knowing what was going on. And he typed it out to me. And I was like, oh, my fault, different culture. And so he asked what we do here in America to say hello and goodbye. I said, we wave. And so on his way out, he waved and went into the elevator. It was a really good time. But I made a new friend, and that's always what I try to do at all the different places that I go to.
Yeah, that's a very original way of making a friend, though. I've made friends, but I don't think I've ever made a friend quite like that. Oh God. Okay, let's just catch up with these comments here. I don't think we had this one. So Jasmine asked, so excited to see what piece you're going to play. Do you generally prefer classical or contemporary pieces?
Oh my gosh, I miss you, girl, and I can't wait to see you at internationals. I really prefer classical just because of the way it sounds on grand pianos. I think it's
Mm.
beautiful. I do play a few contemporary pieces when it comes to something new on the radio or a country song that I really like. I do live in Texas, so I do listen to a
Mm.
lot of George Strait. So I try to learn some of those on the piano. But when I'm performing in front of people, I prefer classical for sure.
Nice. Kathy about the TikTok has asked, talk about who filmed all these TikToks for you. I mean, I assume it's your mum, right?
It is my mom. She takes a lot of time out of her day to help me with my TikTok. She asked earlier, she goes, so when am I going to get my guest star appearance on your now famous TikTok? I was like, Mom, you can be on there anytime you want. So we're going to do a live together at some point. I don't know when that's going to be, but she does. She's the one that has all of the ideas. She came up with the shoe
Oh, wow.
idea. I don't know if anyone saw my not most recent, but I posted it yesterday, and it was about swimming. And I'm a pale redhead, so I don't tan. And so that video, it was talking about if you're going to come to swim with me in the pool, we're going to get in the water, we're going to get our hair wet, we're not going to sit there and tan, and we're going to play mermaids. So it was just a super funny joke of a video. And my mom, she saw it from someone else and she said, you have to do this. And
Mm.
I looked at her and I told her, no, I'm not doing that video. That there's no way I'm going to do that. Well, I ended up doing it. It went viral. So now she's on 3 out of 3 videos that she has come up with have gone viral. So now I'm just going to start listening to her and not argue with her on the videos. But it went viral and a ton of people have seen it, and it ended up getting me to 100,000 very quickly yesterday and is still growing. So it's been great. She puts a lot of hard work into it, just like I do, and definitely pushes me to make good content. Even if it is about mermaids, it's content. So we do that a lot together, and that takes up a lot of our time. But we have a good time doing it. There's a few squabbles every once in a while, but it's a good time. We've learned how to edit videos very well this year.
The moral of the story there, unfortunately for you, is listen to your mum. What is, you said play mermaids. How do you play mermaids? I've not heard of that game before. What is mermaids?
So, oh, that's so sad. Okay, well, here in America, younger girls, like I'm talking like maybe like 2-year-olds to 7 or 8. I don't know. I don't remember when I played mermaids in the pool, but you pretend like you're a mermaid and you play in the pool and you have all your friends and you just pretend like you're mermaids in the water. So it was just a joke because I'm 17, so I don't play mermaids in the water. I typically just swim and have a good time and try not to get sunburnt. And I do that. And she said, "Now, this is what the video did. So this is what you're going to do." I was like, oh my gosh. So you can see me in the video. I pull up my goggles and I strap them to my face and I jump into the water and I have my little flippers on. And then you can see me going down the slide and I'm a mess. My hair is all ratted in the back. I have my black goggles on. I have flippers on. The hose is going crazy. It was a mess of a video, but for some reason, a lot of people ended up liking it.
I think because I was also going to ask you when we were talking about TikToks, I'm sure a lot of people would want to know sort of your tips because you've done super well. And I think just on what you mentioned, because that's a more authentic video, obviously it's not picture perfect. Sometimes that's what people, that's what people like. It's that it's more authentic. And I think Instagram became everything on Instagram needs to be absolutely perfect. Whereas TikTok allowed you to show a bit more of your personality, a bit more what's real. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to go, make it on TikTok, such as yourself?
Yeah, definitely be yourself. I watched all these people on TikTok and it was a lot of dancing. And I didn't think I was going to be good at this app because I was like, there's no way I can do that dance. I've never been a cheerleader. I've never danced before. It's not my thing. I don't understand how the girls are able to do it. It's too much learning, too much movement. I can't do it. And I decided, okay, well, I know pageantry very well, and I'm very passionate about showing people what pageants are really about and just other qualities of my life. I'm really into fashion. So that's what I decided to make my TikTok about. And people loved it. And I was just being my unique self. And that's what I encourage everyone to do on TikTok. Maybe find a little something that's unique to you and post about it, because that's what I did. There's not too many pageant girls on TikTok. And that's what I started posting about. And immediately the first video I made about pageantry got 1 million views. And after that, I kind of realized, okay, well, I'm just going to be who I am on this app. And it ended up working out really well.
Perfect. Now, this is a really, really long comment here. It's actually covered us. It's a message for you. I'm sure you can read it. Basically saying, I guess it's a thank you for helping be that role model sister in inverted commas for Ava. I won't read the whole thing out because it's super long, but I'll let you go back through, Natalie, and read these in your own time. But obviously, that's a lovely sentiment. Okay. Kathy here has said, so Texas IJM went virtual. How was that experience for you? Explain what you were able to do to prepare for it and what you've learned from it.
I was really nervous to do the virtual pageant because Kathy announced that instead of interview being 33% and then fun fashion being 33% and evening gown being 33%, interview was 50% this year because it was virtual. Right. I was terrified. I was so scared. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I did not have faith in my interview skills. And my interview coach is Lisa Dean. She's incredible. And she really restored my faith in being able to do well in my interview. I was petrified. I told my mom, it's like, well, I don't know if I should compete. They changed it to 50%. My strong suit, I always felt like was my runway because I'm so tall. I just feel comfortable on a runway, and that's my favorite part of competition.
Sure.
So we worked a lot on interview because interview was the one section that we couldn't go back and redo. All the other like fun fashion and like the optionals too, piano and evening gown, I could go back and redo if I didn't like the way my hand looked or if I didn't play a key quite right on piano. I could go back and do it. Interview was not that way, and that's why they made it to be the 50%. So I was so scared. I didn't know if I wanted to do it just because of that interview part. Well, my mom and dad have always told me that if I'm scared to do something, then I need to do it because it'll make me better as a person. And I did it. And we worked so hard on interview. We worked for hours on it. And it really paid off. Even though if you go back and watch my interview, I actually have it in my email saved right now from my amazing directors. My interview is terrible. You could tell I was well-spoken. But like I said earlier, I live in the middle of a cotton field. Our service was awful and we couldn't go anywhere because we were in the middle of COVID and the judges were talking over me. I was talking over the judges. It was awful. And I somehow won best interview. And I messaged one of my directors like, how did this happen? And they're like, well, you could tell that you were well spoken. Just because the judges talked over you doesn't mean that it was a bad interview. And so I was like, okay, I definitely talked over the judges. It was kind of rough, but I learned that I'm capable of so much more than I think. And I was able to do really well with the interview being at 50%. And I still accomplished what I reached out to do. And I was so proud of myself with that, because interview is something that is really important to me because of my public speaking. I need to be able to speak well. And it went really good. And I learned a lot more about interview and what to do for some stuff, and like what to do if you're glitching out. You need to stop talking and wait for the judge to say something before you do. Otherwise, you'll be talking all over them. But I really enjoyed the experience. The IJM Texas directors did an incredible job of still making it special for the girls and making the reigning queens still have a part in the pageant. It went really well for being a virtual pageant. I had a blast.
Can I ask, because you just mentioned, obviously you've mentioned that you love public speaking, yet you also mentioned that you're nervous about interview. I think for a lot of people that sort of would not quite make sense. So how, because obviously you're very well spoken, particularly for your age, yet you not super confident about interview. So is there something about interview in particular that makes you nervous, or was it just kind of more of a phobia?
I've actually really grown to enjoy interview. It was just a sudden change of it being moved to 50%. It's like, oh no, I started doubting myself. There was so much doubt in my interview capabilities. And my coach has always told me, Natalie, you need to calm down. You were so good at interview. You sound like a miss. You need to sound more like a teen. I'm like, well, I just like to sound like a miss. I'm ready for the miss division. So I was just I had a lot of self-doubt in my interview capabilities, and I overcame that and ended up doing a pretty good job. And that's what the judges wrote too. They told me that I sounded like a miss. Like, well, I'm working on it. I try to sound like a teen, but my parents have taken me to all their work things since I was little, and they really had a big part in my speaking capabilities. So that, and doing my speaking at school, and I really enjoyed the public speaking, and I've really come to love interview. It was just that realization that, oh my goodness, my interview is going to make or break me.
Right. We will get towards we always wrap up with the same 10 questions here, Natalie. We'll get to that in a sec, but just before, do you want to comment on this?
So that's my dad. He was probably talking about my mom and I doing TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, a few squabbles might be an understatement. There's definitely a few more. Yesterday was one of them with the mermaid thing. We were talking very loudly at each other over whether or not to post the mermaid video. I really did not want to. I was so scared I was going to be made fun of. And I had like a ton of 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds commenting on there, and they were all so sweet. They all wanted to come play mermaids with me. So I made a ton of friends off of that TikTok. So it worked out very well. But yeah, there's a lot of squabbles here and there. But you know what? That just means we love each other and brings us closer together.
I'm just wondering, from your dad's perspective, how a squabble about mermaid videos on TikTok actually sounds. Because it's got to sound somewhat ridiculous, arguing about whether to post a mermaid video on TikTok.
I'm sure it does. He's been a trooper. I have an older brother, and he is 24, so he's moved out of our house. So it's my mom, me, and my dad. And he always says the pageant life has become his life. And it's so funny to see him so involved with pageantry. And you just like, what are you doing? You need to be practicing interview. And then randomly at dinner, he'll ask me an interview question. Like, wow, you've really transformed into a pageant dad. So he's done really well living with 2 girls at the moment. And I love him for putting up with all this stuff. He does a lot for my pageants, and I appreciate every bit of it, even with putting up with mermaid fights.
All right, guys, if you have any more questions for Natalie, put them in the put them in the comments, and I'll circle back to them at the end. Just before we get to the final 10 questions, Natalie, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to, just for supporting you along your pageant journey or just in life in general?
Yeah, I would love to give a huge shout out to my incredible sponsors. They have done so much for us this year with this being a virtual pageant. They made it incredible, and they've made this experience, though it's only been a few months, an amazing one that I will never forget. Also, a big shout out to my coach, Lisa. She has done so much for me and really transformed me. If you watch my YouTube, then you can see, or if you just YouTube my name, you can see where I started out in pageantry and to where she's gotten me today. And she's helped me develop my platform to where it's at. And she is always there as someone that I can look up to and look to for, a role model. And I really appreciate her, along with Sergio at Terry Costa. He does so much for me in making my dream dresses into a reality. And I can't wait to show everyone what I'm going to be wearing at IJM.
Perfect. Okay, final 10 questions. I've done over 100 interviews. I've finished every interview with the same 10 questions, including when I interviewed Rachel Everin. She ended up talking about slime videos. That didn't go well. It's not rapid fire. You don't have to answer super quick, but if you want to answer super quick, it's up to you. So question 1, what is your favorite word?
Ooh, bumble. Like a bee, but bumble. I don't know. It's fun to say. Like, you can't say it without smiling. It's just one of those words that is just cute, and you just say bumble and it's fun to say. You can't say it without laughing.
Isn't Bumble a dating app?
Is it? I'm only 17. I don't know.
I don't go on dating apps, so I don't know. Yeah, okay, all right. I think Bumble is someone might be able to tell us. Bumble, I think, is a dating app where only the girls can reach out to the guys. I remember it because one of my friends in America was on it, and she was telling me about it. Anyway, let's move on to more important things. Question 2, what is your least favorite word?
Ooh, I really don't know. I talk a lot, so I use most words, and I enjoy saying them. I don't have a least favorite word.
How do you feel about moist?
Okay.
That's a common one.
Yeah, that's not one that I'm too fond of, but I do use it here and there just to describe, like, oh man, the air is very moist today. Like, instead of humid, because humid's just boring to say. So.
Okay. All right. Question 3. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
I know we're doing a pageant interview, but I love being on stage and knowing that everybody is watching me and watching me compete. I love competing in spokesmodel and being able to, I told you I love public speaking, and spokesmodel is one of my favorite optionals that IJM offers. And just knowing that I'm not only on stage competing, but I'm also delivering my message is a feeling like no other. Just hoping that I do well in delivering my message and touching everyone in the crowd is a feeling like no other while being on stage.
Perfect. What turns you off?
Ooh, I'd probably say unkind people, just because there's no reason to be mean to anyone, and having had experience dealing with all those people, it really made my life so much harder. And there's absolutely no reason to intentionally make someone's life harder or worse in any way. So I really don't like unkind people at all.
Question 5. What sound or noise do you love?
I really love the sound. We don't have many trees here in Texas. I love the sound that the wind makes when it's going through the trees. I said earlier that I'm originally from Olympia, Washington, and there are so many trees there, and it's beautiful. It's just a breathtaking place to go. And when you wake up, usually there's no wind, but when there is a little bit of wind, you can hear it in the trees. And when you go for a walk outside and you're just underneath all like the shade of the trees, you can just hear it. And a beautiful noise. I love it.
And question 6, what sound or noise do you hate?
People chewing. That really drives me crazy. I don't know what it is. Like, I understand that everybody has to eat something, but just, oh, I have to have music on or a TV on, or I have to sit away from my parents at the dinner table. It drives me insane.
Really that bad? You have to like almost leave the dinner table because
Yeah, well, we have like the way it is in our house, it's an island. So there's five different like there's different chairs right there. And so my dad sits at the far end, and then it's me and my mom right beside him. And if for whatever reason the meal that we're eating is steak or something that's going to be loud, I move to the other end because it bothers me so bad, or I have to turn on a very loud TV show. And then I'll be fine. I'm okay with it after that. But even my own chewing kind of just drives me insane sometimes.
kind of hard to get away
Is that a new
from
one?
your own Actually, surprisingly, no. The chewing sound, especially when people chew with their mouth open, and it's that that masticating sort of that. Yeah, a lot of people have
Yes.
said that. One girl in the UK said it's so bad for her it makes her cry. But I think that's the first time I've heard anyone say that even the sound of their own chewing drives them mad. So.
Well, I always have to, I wait if I get a meal. Like today, I ate Raisin Bran. That's my favorite cereal, and it's very crunchy. And so I get my computer in front of me and I turn the volume up to max, and then I wait, and then I start eating my cereal once the TV show starts playing. It's weird. It's a weird little thing, but
Okay. Yeah, it's not the first time I've heard that answer, but the degree to which you react to it is probably a first. Moving on, question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would pick the superpower to travel. I love traveling. I've been to over 20 different countries, I believe, and I want to add to that list. I love experiencing the different cultures, meeting the different people. It's a hobby of mine. It's a very expensive hobby, but it's one that my parents have taught me, and I've loved it since I was young.
You'd better start making a lot of money, because if your two hobbies are traveling and pageantry, I mean, pageantry ain't exactly cheap. You're going to get the TikToks rolling out, I think.
I'm working on it, I promise.
Question 8. It's a bit different for you because you're still a student, but we'll go there anyway. If you could try any occupation other than your own, or if you could have, let's say, dream job, what would your dream job be?
My dream job would be to be working as a broadcast journalist, whether it's a political broadcast journalist or sports broadcast. I'm still trying to figure that out at the moment, and that's why I'm taking college classes. I'm looking at both routes to see which one I like more, because I'm not going to know until I start studying it. So my classes at the moment are both in the political broadcast and the ethics of journalism, and then sports broadcast. And I'm loving both, so I don't know which route I'm going to go towards at the moment, but it's definitely something that I'm looking into and hope to pursue in college.
Oh, that's fascinating. Do you have any idea what sort of sports you would like to broadcast? Because obviously broadcasting golf is very different to broadcasting, I don't know, football or something.
Well, I have played sports since I was in kindergarten. I played basketball. That's what I started out with. And then I played volleyball and tennis and ran track. I loved it. And I also have been riding horses since I was super young. So I've always been very involved in sports and really enjoyed competing in them. It wasn't until my junior year, so this past year of high school, that I didn't play sports, which was a major lifestyle change for me. But I would probably say basketball, football, or baseball, and maybe even volleyball, and tennis. I actually like them all. But the top 3 would be basketball, football, and baseball, just because basketball I know so much about. That's where I got 2 out of the 4 of my high ankle sprains. So I know it pretty well. And football and baseball, I have grown up watching my older brother play. So I'm pretty well known. I know those as well.
I know that you obviously are good friends with Rach Everin. Has she inflicted cricket on you yet? Talking about Australian versus American.
She told me a little bit about cricket at internationals, but that was about it. I
Okay.
don't even know how the sport works.
Neither do I. I don't. I watched it on and off for like many, many years, and I still don't understand it. To give you an example, if I say, here's a position on the team, you tell me what you think they do. What's the wicket keeper?
They're the goalkeeper.
Close,
No?
close enough. You need to watch it. I can't describe the game of cricket, and I don't understand it. One of the positions is called silly mid-off.
What?
So
I don't know if this is an actual sport. Is it? I've never watched
it is. Australians, the Brits are crazy about cricket. I know the Americans can't stand it because there's one version of cricket that can go for 5 days, and at the end you can still have no result. So it's not.
Oh.
I just wanted to ask about it to see if you knew anything about it. I have no interest in it, but I'm sure
haven't.
Rachel can explain it
I have
to you.
not watched cricket before.
I will get
have
flagged a lot
watched
for saying
rugby
it, but you.
before.
Okay, all right. Well, more happens in rugby, and you can kind of understand it, right? Anyway, I'll get flayed alive for saying don't bother
Yes.
with cricket, but I love tennis, and I'm a tennis player, so we can agree on that. The cricket I'll leave
I
to
am
someone
too.
else.
Yes.
Well,
There we
your
go.
perfect height, 5'10", is obviously good for basketball.
Yes.
But for tennis, that's actually
Yes.
probably the average height
Tennis
for the
and
female
volleyball.
pros.
Yes, tennis and volleyball were definitely my favorites. In volleyball, I was a middle hitter and a right side hitter because of my height. I had a terrible vertical, but I could still reach up and block the ball and hit the ball. And in tennis, it was great. You added the attachment of a racket to my hand, and I've stretched across most of the court. So I could get to most everything. I love tennis. I just didn't have time for it. And so I still play as much as I can, but just not competitively anymore. But it's a blast. I love it.
How's your serve?
It's really good. It takes a little while to get warmed up, but it looks terrible. But most people can't return it. Like the girls that I play against, they really can't return it that well. So unless they're just really good, and typically the girls that I do play are either younger than I am or a little bit shorter than I am, and so they don't have the reach that I do, which is definitely an advantage for me. But yeah, my serve is really good. It doesn't look pretty, but it works.
Do you have the granny tap thing going on? This throw and that thing when you say it's.
No, like I throw it up and I have the racket, and then you obviously have to reach through, but I've only had one actual tennis lesson. The rest has just been my brother yelling at me and telling me what I'm doing wrong in tennis. So that's been a little nerve-wracking, and that's really what pushed me to learn how to do everything right in tennis. But no, it's like an actual serve. It's just something about it. It just looks really clumsy, but it gets over the net, and a lot of people can't return it. So I get the point, and that's all that I really need.
Look, enough said. I mean, I'm a tennis coach, like by trade. I'm not a tennis coach currently, but I coached for like 10, 15 years, worked at an all-girls school. So if you ever do a TikTok where your tennis serve is in it, then I'm sure I can give you a few pointers. You might go viral for a whole other reason.
There we go. I'll get on that.
Yeah, go for it. Get your mum to film a tennis serve. Let's see how that goes. Question 9. What job would you definitely not like to ever attempt?
Oh, well, my parents are home builders, and my mom is a real estate agent, and my dad's crew builds the houses. I love real estate. One of my mom's things when we go out of town, we drive through neighborhoods and we go through guessing how much each house is, what it would be priced at market value, which is something that most teenagers don't do. But I love doing it with my mom. It's just something that she's always had me do since I was younger, dragging me from one appointment to the next, and I've loved it. But my dad's workers work so hard out here in Texas because right now it's 106 outside, and Australia, y'all feel the same heat that we do, and it's ridiculous. And I would not be able to work outside, and the manual labor outside in Texas summers is something I would never do.
106. I mean, if you went outside in 106, wouldn't you just burst into flames, being pale redhead? I mean, that can't be good for you.
It's not good. That's why I can't tan. I end up, if I go outside, no matter how much sunscreen I put on, I will get sunburnt, and I don't get the tan. I get freckles. And all my friends, I have a picture of my best friend and I, and we went to the beach a few weeks ago, and she's laying in the sun. She's blonde and super tan, and I'm under an umbrella just laying there because I can't get burnt. I just end up with more freckles, and oh, this Texas heat is something else. I'm actually really excited. I'm going to Washington to stay with my cousins next week and my grandparents. So it'll be a nice break from this 106-degree weather.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I would really love for him to explain. I've wanted to know this since I was younger. Why did he make fire ants? I've always wondered that. And it's something that I've kept in my head since I was about 6 years old, because I did a cartwheel and landed in a huge pile of fire ants and had to soak in a bath for hours. And so ever since I was little, I figured, you know what, if he's going to be there, I'm going to ask him why the fire ants. I don't really see the necessity of those in Texas. So that'll be one of the first things that I ask.
You've had some adventures in your young 17-year-old life, that's for sure. You've sprained your ankle, 4 times? You've cartwheeled into fire ants. You've had some random French guy find you on Instagram and then go to breakfast with you. You don't live a boring life at all, do you?
I really don't. I try to stray away from the boring life, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it.
Sounds good to me. We just got one final question here from Amanda. We've covered it a little bit. She's asked, how are you using the virtual platform, I guess, to share your message with young women, since you can't get out in the community right now? So virtual, I'm assuming, meaning Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well.
Yeah. So right now, as I said a little bit earlier, I'm on the beginning stages of working on a book for younger girls and younger classrooms that I can give that out to. So that way I can get my message of Fearfully and Wonderfully Made to the younger eyes and the younger kids. But I'm still working on a way to be able to get that message across to the preteen and older aged people that I'm trying to get it to. I don't really know what I'm going to start doing. I have a few ideas, but we'll see what happens. It's kind of difficult just because of my service out in West Texas. It makes video streaming pretty difficult. As I told you, I'm over at one of my family's rental houses doing this streaming, and it's actually under contract. So I really don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not. A family could come walking in at any moment. But when I go home, my video streaming quality is terrible. And so Zoom really isn't that good of an option for me. So I'm working on a few other backup things that I'm hoping to get up by August.
Right. Well, I am glad that it's not just Australia that has absolutely rubbish internet connection. Glad to see that someone else is suffering with it, not just myself. Your dad had said no different than the rest.
Right there with you.
Your dad had said no different than the rest of the crazy TikTok ideas, and your mum, final comment, has said, yes, that bad, and we do have good manners. She's just that sensitive.
Oh, yeah, Mom, wait till I get off of this call. We'll have a talk here in a minute. Just joking. I love you. And they've been watching this entire thing, so they've helped me put this all together, and very blessed to have them, but a little bit sensitive when it comes to the TikToks because I didn't want to play mermaids in the pool. So maybe it was her being sensitive to that, but we'll see.
I just wish I had seen or heard the argument about the mermaid video, because without context, it would have made zero sense to anyone listening. Probably anyone over the age of 30 would be like, what are you talking about? And Linda Garrett Bell has said, come ride horses with your nana. So there you go.
Oh. Yes. Well, I think the mermaid argument is done since she was right and it went viral and got me to 100,000 followers. So, Mom, I'm done arguing, I promise.
You just said that on a live video. Your mum can now clip that out and hold it over your head for the rest of your life, Natalie. That was a really bad idea.
Yeah, it's probably going to be her ringtone, not going to lie. But you know what? It's okay. I go to college next year anyway. She can't use it too much.
So your solution to this is I'm just going to run away from home. Okay, all right. Final. Edison Holmes, who I've interviewed, she's over in the UK. She's one of the, because IJM has just started up in the UK. She said, "Hi, Natalie, it's Edison, IJM UK Teen." So there you go. All right. Natalie, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to keep you on the line for just a second, but best of luck with everything. And thank you for spending, over an hour with us. And thank you to everyone for watching and sending in your questions, and we will speak to you next time. What's up, guys? It's Adrian again. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to head over to pageantlaunch.com, join our launch team for our review site. It's super important to all of us to make sure that the industry is safe, transparent, and fair. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, write in your email address, and we'll speak to you next time.